hate to spoil the review, but this game's awesome. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But you want to know one of the coolest things about this game? It's in my pocket. I think sometimes it's a good idea for us to step back and to really take a look at and really appreciate things like that. You know, the things that in these fancy modern lives we lead that we take for granted. It's so cool that anytime I need to kill 5-10 minutes, I can play a game that, if this were 1987, would be an NES classic. I can escape to this gorgeous little underground world of monsters and balloons and subterranean shopkeepers because it's on my phone. Oh, and it costs $3. I mean, say what you want about mobile games, that's awesome. And right now, this mobile game is my favorite game in the world. Or under the world. It's Downwell for the iOS. Now, we don't usually review mobile games, but this one's too good not to talk about. I had to share it with you guys. And look, I don't expect to change your minds about mobile games. I know there are a lot of you, there are a lot of people who, for some reason, they're more concerned with the platform a game appears on and how it's distributed to people than the actual game experience itself. There's this weird anti-mobile attitude. Makes no sense to me, but I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just here to show you something awesome, because this is awesome. And I'm just going to encourage you that if you are one of those mobile games aren't real games people, to try this. Just try it, because I'm telling you, apart from the means of distribution and the fact that you don't have to blow on it, there's nothing about this game that you wouldn't have praised in 1987. Well, almost. So it's called Downwell, mostly because you go down the well. This entire game is you fall down the well. Thing is, though, that well is a pretty weird place. It's full of monsters, for one, and the deeper you go, the more monsters you find. Fortunately, you're like Mega Man's cousin or something, because you happen to be wearing weaponized shoes. And I'm sorry, but if you're not sold after weaponized shoes, then clearly there is no pleasing you. So the central gameplay mechanic is that when you double jump, that second press of the button also fires your gun boots, which is what they're called, gun boots. Again, if you're still here listening to this, why aren't you in the App Store right now? I don't know what your problem is. Now, what exactly fires out of your gun boots, that depends on what power-ups you've collected, but more on that later. So the idea is, you blast the crap out of monsters with your footwear, and that's awesome. Only problem is, doing so also blasts the crap out of the ground that you would otherwise land on. So, actually, maybe be careful with all the crap blasting. So it looks simple, right? And it is. You jump and blast, and your objective is to fall all the way down to the bottom where you go to the next level. It's easy enough. Thing is, though, the game dangles just the right carrots to keep things interesting. Or more specifically, gems. It's a gem dangle. So as you kill enemies, you collect gems. And that's really the main thing here. You want to collect all these gems, and they serve a couple purposes. One, they're currency. So when you find those underground shops, you can buy items like health refills and things like that. Two, they unlock stuff. And some of that stuff is just super freaking cool. So for example, this is the game's default color scheme, and it looks gorgeous. It's awesome. But collect enough gems, and you unlock some alternate color schemes. Like there's blue, and there's Game Boy. Oh, and freaking Virtual Boy! Look, I told you, this game's awesome! Downwell is just... Downwell gets about everything right. It really does. It looks gorgeous. It's simple to play, and yet it's also super challenging, and it keeps you playing too. And that's because, while the core gameplay never really changes, it's always being added to with items and power-ups, and you're always finding new weapons to experiment with, like the laser and the triple shot. And then after each level, the game offers you a couple power-ups to choose from that are permanent. So it's an important choice, like, do you grab that health refill because you're down to 1 bar of health? Or do you get the jetpack? That way, even when your weapon's lost its charge, you can still get that crucial hover that makes the game a lot easier. And actually, that's another thing. Your weapon has a charge. So if you keep firing, it doesn't take long to lose that charge. And when you lose that charge, you lose the hover ability, and that makes the game a lot harder, because you have to wait a couple seconds for it to recharge. So if one of those power-ups lengthens the capacity of the charge, well, that might be a good thing to grab. But then again, I could really use that health refill, and what good's the jetpack if I'm gonna be dead in 30 seconds anyway? So you see, you're always faced with these kind of risk-reward decisions, which makes the game even more addictive than it already is. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's nothing here you wouldn't have praised in 1987, almost. And that's because, look, as gorgeous as the graphics are, and as awesome as the music is, which is another thing, the music's amazing, and as addictive as the gameplay is, there's still one issue, and that's the controls. Now look, don't get me wrong, it's not like it's bad or anything, but not having physical buttons, as always for a game like this, can sometimes be a problem. Because the thing about physical buttons is, you always know where they are. You can feel them, and that way you don't have to look. That's kind of a central element of gameplay. You don't have to actually look at what you're pushing, you can focus on the game, and controlling it is almost second nature. And this game does really well without the physical buttons, but still, there are times when you're going left when you meant to go right, or vice versa, just because you lost the button because there's no physical feedback. And again, it's not bad or anything, it's still playable, but it would be better with buttons. It would be perfect with buttons. Without them, there's still those control flaws once in a while. And look, that's not to say all mobile games need buttons, but this one, with this kind of gameplay, buttons are objectively better, and there's no avoiding it. This game would be even better with buttons. But you know what? Still, buttons or not, this is one of the best video games I've played all year. Seriously, it's that much fun. It's just awesome. And it's not awesome in that 2015 way either. This is 1987 awesome, which is really the best kind of awesome. It's fast, it's frantic, it's fun, it's immediate. You start it up and you're having fun within seconds without any bullcrap, and yet it's all in your pocket. And that's the good kind of 2015 awesome. It's Downwell for your phone. In my mind is Alexander Graham Blown.